I am California of the past.
I am California of the past.
I am California of the past.
Hello, I'm Elva Gabriel, a resident of Hayward. Today I'm going to be talking to you about a real longtime resident of Hayward, Mrs. Lola Measles, better known to us as Lola. Lola is my 86-year-old neighbor who was born in Montana. She was named Lodina because her mother named her alphabetically. I don't know if she skipped every other letter of the alphabet, but she had 13. The family, because of financial matters, had to move to Casper, Wyoming when Lola was only 6 weeks old. They moved there because they had the opportunity to live on a farm and become self-sufficient by farming and raising cattle. I'm going to read to you some of the things that she has described to me. During my last year of high school, I'm talking in Lola's voice, the federal government provided a testing program for seniors in an effort to recruit workers for various job training job programs, which would eventually lead to the World War II effort. I scored high in mechanical areas, and after graduation, I was thrilled to be offered further training at the vocational school in Laramie. While there, I learned many skills. I learned how to weld and rivet and some electronics that would fit my job, not the computer generation. These skills were not generally offered to women, but since I had such a high aptitude in that area, I became an employee of the United States Army Signal Corps. I even had a title. My title was radio inspector. I was a transmitter installer, and I inspected the water seals on tanks so that when they went from land onto the water, they didn't sink or leak. What a great opportunity to finally travel from that farm. And off I went to Lima Tank Depot in Philadelphia in 1942. I inspected the electrical components, and the war effort suddenly was transferred to California. And I was thrilled to be relocated to the West Coast. I never thought I would get away from back east. And I was part of the Military Ordnance Division at Richmond, California. My primary duty was to drive tanks off the line through the Richmond hills and streets and come back on the dirt roads and bring the tanks down to the water line before they could be shipped overseas. I really felt I fit the World War II Rosie the Riveter image with the little bibbed overalls that I borrowed from the men. I was one of the only women working in that division, and I love the idea of putting my wrenches and things in these. It was an exciting job, even though at times it had some problems. Allow me to tell you one of the stories of testing a tank during low tide in the Richmond Bay. After driving through the Richmond streets and hills, I returned to the depot to pick up 2 male workers who were testing the tank's floating capacity and steering mechanisms and electronics, while I actually navigated the tank out away from the dock and headed toward the bay. And I cut the motor off. I was so proud. We were actually floating. But the point was that we had to sit out there for at least a couple of hours. And we sat, and it started to get a bit chilly. Richmond Bay gets pretty cold, and these tanks were not lined. And we sat there and waited, and then we said, well, we've been here long enough, let's drive back. And when we attempted to do that, we found that we were stuck in the silt and mud of Richmond Bay, and we got to spend the night there. It was not a luxurious overnight stay on a yacht, believe me. And we finally returned to the dock the next day. We took a lot of teasing from our fellow workers about the overnight cruise on the bay. I don't know if the government learned anything about testing or resting a tank near shore in a bay, but I certainly did.